Dan Lanning is a target for Kansas University's football opening. That's according to a report today in Football Scoop, which has done a good job through the years of reporting about college coaching changes. And we've got a lot to say about this. Is Kansas the right place for Dan Lanning? Will he be one of the guys that really gets an offer, or the offer, as it turns out? What would happen to Georgia with a coordinator change in May, essentially, of a football season? I'm gonna let you talk. I want to talk to you about a little bit of that. Let you know what I think. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. It's not surprising that schools are going to be after Dan Lanning or Todd Monken in the future, particularly because of their success. I mean, Todd Monken's already been a head coach. Dan Lanning hasn't, but he will be. The question is if Kansas is the right move for Dan. And stop me if you've heard this before, but not a lot of people have had success at Kansas. They had some success about 14 years ago in 2007 or so, but ever since then it's been a rough go. Athletic department has not done a good job of hiring coaches. Jeff Long, the athletic director there, stepped down or was fired, one of the two, after the Les Miles debacle. So you've got a really dicey situation at Kansas. That's not to say that nothing could ever work there. The question is if Dan Lanning is the right person to make that happen. He's been the defense coordinator at Georgia for 2 seasons, and both those times, if my numbers are correct, he's had Georgia's defense ranked in the top 12 nationally. Once they were number 2 or 3, whatever it was. That's really good, particularly in an explosive SEC that's scoring more and more points as time goes on. He's from the area, which is to say that he's from Missouri, but I don't know that this is the right move right now for Dan. And there's a couple of different reasons why. Just because a head job comes open doesn't mean it's the right head job. Number 2, the timing here is a little tricky in that you don't get a chance to really sign your first class and use them in a matter of 9 months. You're going to have to wait almost 17, I guess it is, until your first from the time you get hired, from then until you get a chance to really use them. That's asking a lot. That's a long delay. 9 months is a long delay, but that's common. Doing another year on top of that, I just don't know. So, and then the problem of Kansas. I mean, this is a legitimate question. Is Coastal Carolina a better job than Kansas? I would tell you in the last 5 years, it probably is a better job than Kansas. And that they have beaten them twice in that time, or at least once, doesn't help the narrative for the Jayhawks. So Kansas got a real issue here. And I think the really way to put it is Dan Lanning, the correct answer to the question that is, how do you solve football at Kansas? I don't know that it will ever be solved. But if you're Dan Lanning, do you continue to take what is a hefty payday at Georgia and ride that out for 3 to 5 more years or 2 more years or 9 more months, seeing what else is out there? When you look at Shane Beamer getting the job at South Carolina, that's his first head coaching job, and that's a certainly top 40 school, top 40 program. They spend probably top 20 South Carolina. So, he's not as old as Shane Beamer is, but that's not that far away. So, what is the right move? What is the right school? Would you rather have Mizzou than Kansas? Yeah. Would you rather have Texas Tech than Kansas? Yeah. I mean, Kansas is one of the worst Power 5 jobs in the country. It's definitely, to me, worse than Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt has a very uphill slog. So I think seeing what's out there in the near future is probably the best way to go. I don't know. He wouldn't get the LSU job, but I don't know what the future will hold at LSU with Ed Orgeron and the disaster that was the 2020 season, as well as everything that's come since then. You got Michigan, and all of these places are not necessarily places that Dan Lanning will land, but Luke Fickell could leave Cincinnati. Luke Fickell will leave Cincinnati to be the coach probably at Notre Dame in the future. that will open up Cincinnati. That is a ideal landing spot for someone like Dan Lanning. I mean, he was already at Memphis. That's where he was an assistant. That makes a lot of sense. You just look around. There are a lot of places to go. Just because Kansas is a Power 5 school and you'd be making, $2 to $3 million a year, I don't know if the money's worth it. I mean, he's not going to get fired at Georgia. I don't see it. Not after these first 2 years. The question is, when is Dan going to leave? And what is the right place for him to go to? So often we talk about what the right fit is at a particular school. Dabo Swinney would not work at Georgia. It would not work, okay? It would probably not work at Florida. But it works at Clemson because it's the right fit. Dan Mullen would not work at Georgia. It's not the right fit. I just don't. I mean, certain coaches fit at their institutions, and that's what you're trying to find, is where can you fit that's the right place, that's the right way to, for your career path. Your first head coach job does not have to be your last or your only head coach job. Everybody's not Kirby. But the lesson from Kirby, well, we don't know what the future holds with Kirby. Let's just be straight. But it certainly appears like he's going to be the coach at Georgia for some time. And that Kirby went about things doing the way that he did doesn't mean it's right for everyone else. But he was very patient, waiting for the right job. He interviewed at Auburn. They took Gus Malzahn instead, which made sense at the time, if we're being honest. But it wasn't the right move for Kirby until it was the right move. I mean, Mark Richt almost took the Pitt job and thought better of it. And I think it was a year later or 2 years later, took the Georgia job. Well, he was the right fit for a long time at Georgia. A 15-year career in the SEC, that just doesn't happen very often. So it really is about where can you make your mark? What is the right place? If Dan Lanning is at Georgia for 5 more years, then you do start talking about places like Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina. Then you're starting to talk about higher up places. Michigan at that stage certainly could become a job. But in a year from now, Virginia Tech could be open. And that totally is a job that Dan Lanning could land. I mean, in a year. I don't think that that's out of the question at all. And then Kirby would have to decide what they're doing at defensive coordinator, which he's never had a problem filling that position so far since he's been at Georgia. So you're going to lose coordinators if you're successful. That happens. What you have to do is continue to replace them. I mean, Dabo's done a great job of that at Clemson. Nick Saban is the king of that for sure. But, you want your coordinators to leave because that means you're having success. And in this case, I mean, Dan Lanning is as liked around, Georgia football. There's not a lot of people that say bad stuff about him. So I was going to compare him to Mike Bobo, but it was easy to hate Mike Bobo for fans because he was one of their own. Dan Lanning's not that way, and Dan has done a great job at Georgia. It was I don't want to say a curious hire, but it was a young hire by Kirby at the time, and he got it exactly right. I mean, it's hard to play better defense for a season than Georgia has these last 2. They've been very good on defense. So, but the world is changing, and Dan Lanning is going to, when he becomes a head coach, just like Kirby, he will have to start mastering the art of offense, because that's where the game is going right now. I don't think Dan Lanning is going to take the Kansas job. There's a lot of people, including Todd Monken's brother, who are being looked at for this job. Kansas is a tough nut to crack for sure. I wouldn't be the one trying to crack that nut at all. Let's talk about this more over on the website, dogpost.com. Dean Latham Dog Post. We'll see you over on the website.